You're listening to the A Bit From Within podcast with Felicia Marty. But it's interesting for me to sit down and share a bit from within because I start to realize, as I start to uncover things, I start to realize more and more of what's true. It's really hard for me to accept my inflexibility. I honestly do feel like I surrender a lot. I feel like I do compromise a lot. I feel like I'm constantly aware of other people's needs and their wants, and I try to accommodate all the time. Hi there, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the A Bit From Within podcast. I'm Felicia, and here I am. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have no fully formed idea of what I'm going to talk about today. I've got a few things on my mind, and one of which is this incredible neck and shoulder pain that I'm in right now. I woke up yesterday morning, probably around 6 a.m., and I just noticed that I could not move my neck. I was like, oh no, this is not going to be good. And I was like, kind of, in that half asleep state. And I was kind of thinking in my mind, like, okay, maybe if I really try to relax deeply right now for this last hour of sleep, maybe I can move my way past it and not have to wake up with a frozen neck. And sure enough, I woke up and I could turn my head about 3 inches to the left and about 6 inches to the right, which is still about what I have right now. I cannot look my head up, maybe more than 2 inches. Down seems to be a little bit better, maybe 4 inches. And then right ear towards right shoulder is maybe about 2 inches. And then left ear towards left shoulder is about 1 inch. And that is my mobility right now. And I will share with you as a very mobile person, and I know that that's a blessing. It feels extremely frustrating to be so limited, and I can tell that the problem is somewhere kind of behind my right shoulder blade, or at least part of the problem. And of course, for me, when I get into these kind of positions where I'm dealing with something in my body that I cannot control, like a pain or an injury, right? I think injuries tend to bring out a spiral of thoughts, a spiral around what should I have done to prevent this? Why did this happen to me? I kind of start re-examining all of the things that led up to this. And I know that for me, I've been dealing with some left shoulder pain issues. It's kind of happening in my left arm. I've been working with my an amazing Pilates instructor who's helped me figure some things out, but it's kind of like this intermittent pain that will happen. And I noticed something happened around last Wednesday where again, I was sleeping and I went to just lift my arm away from my body just to pull the covers up, and I couldn't move my arm. Thought, oh, that's interesting. But then I wake up, I can lift things, I can set stuff down, I can pick things up, nothing is causing me pain. And so then I saw my Pilates instructor on Friday, and she gave me a really good workout, which felt amazing. And it actually really helps to feel like I can tap into that strength, that I can work on strengthening. Actually, even with my arm and my shoulder, it's really focusing on strengthening and defined movement in the surrounding joints feels really, really good for it. So I felt really great about that. And then this weekend, let's be honest, last week was a really tough week because of what happened at the Capitol. See, I told you I have no idea where I was going to go with this today, but I feel like I need to talk about this. So last Wednesday, I was at my desk. I had kind of just woken up with a bit of a headache that day. Actually, that was the day that the whole arm thing happened. And I woke up with a little bit of a headache, and I was supposed to go on a walk with a friend, and I messaged her and said, like, hey, I'm really, like, I've got a headache. I just think my body needs to rest today. Can we reschedule? And I did have a photo shoot scheduled for later that afternoon that I knew I needed to get to, and it was a beautiful day. And so I just thought, I'm just going to stay at home. I stayed in my pajamas a little longer than normal and just tried to be in this mindset of rest. But at the same time, as per usual for me, I end up thinking, well, I need to get this done and this done. And I'm working right now on getting ready to launch my new website, my new A Bit From Within website. And there's quite a bit of work that I need to be doing for that. And so I sat down to try to work on this new offering. And as I was working on it, I just felt like I was moving through mud. Like I could just feel the resistance around me, and I could feel my shoulders kind of tightening up a little bit, and my headache was starting to get a little bit stronger. And I thought, what am I doing? I shared a post about this on Instagram, and I really meant it. Like I literally ended up kind of rolling out of my chair and rolling onto the dog bed that's by my desk and putting my legs up the wall. And I'm like, I just need to rest. Like I need to stop. And it is so difficult to stop, to especially all of those things that you feel like are on your to-do list, the things that bring you peace of mind, the things that need to get done to help you move towards your goals or to help you feel accomplished. Like all of these things, this inner momentum inside of me is saying like, you have so much to do. You have so much to do. And of course, with that comes all these other subconscious beliefs around, if you don't do these, then you're not worthy. Like you need to prove yourself. You need to be an accomplished woman. You need to be successful. You need to be on top of your game. You know, all of those things that I don't mean to tell myself, but have been these loud voices in my head for so long. And so I was just taking this little rest to just kind of close my eyes for like 10, 15 minutes and had my legs up the wall and just started to rest. And then I picked up my phone just to kind of scroll on it, of course, because that's a habit. And I was on TikTok, and that is where I saw the first person post about what was happening in Washington, D.C. at these. At that point, it was about like 11:45 or 12 o'clock here. So just around 2 o'clock there. And from what I understand, that's like when things really started to first kind of get crazy. So I turned on a live stream of what was happening on the news on YouTube and just could not tear my eyes away from what was happening. And it's so hard to talk about these things like publicly out into the world because you never know who's going to hear it. And it's not that I'm ashamed of any of my beliefs or that I could be swayed or that there's no embarrassment or anything like that. It's just that certain people love to turn things around and there's just so many people right now who are obsessed with propaganda of lie, like frankly of lies, of like saying that the media is 100% controlling the narrative of what happened, and it's pretty obvious based on the facts of what happened, of watching the video footage, of hearing first-hand accounts of people who were there, of knowing that those who did choose to storm the Capitol and actually break into the Capitol building, it was terrorism. It was absolutely domestic terrorism, and it's really scary. It's caused a lot of fear, and I can feel it. I can feel it in my body, this tension that is happening across the United States. And it's very overwhelming. It is just this further I don't even want to say it's further division. I'm not sure that that's the word that I'm looking for, because I do think that there are plenty of people who have conservative and Republican values who are against what happened, and to a certain extent, and who are regretting their choice to vote for Donald Trump, and who believe and know that the election was not rigged. I think all of those things are important, and I think it's nice to start to share that common ground with people that maybe 4 months ago you couldn't have even a conversation about politics with. And it's still challenging, but at least there's that. And because it is so heated, because tensions are so high, because there's so much about how did this happen? How did we get here? Even though we kind of all know, we've all lived it. We've all lived how we've gotten here for a long time, like for a very long time. It's still very difficult because everybody deals with the way that it overwhelms and scares them in different ways. And from what I understand from my conversations with some of the people closest to me, the things that scare each person the most, the things that are somewhat abstract because, we've heard about them in history books, or we've heard about stories of similar in other countries, it's very abstract because we haven't gone through it ourselves. And so each of us has our own thoughts on what we should be prepared for, what certain signs are pointing towards, what certain things matter. And it led to, on Saturday, for me, it led to a kind of heated conversation between Dave and I. And now, I don't want to speak for him, and maybe sometime I could have him on and we could talk more about this. Potentially. This is not my favorite subject. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Like, I would much rather talk about yoga and meditation and feelings and all other kinds of things. But this is something that is going on. It is a bit from within me right now. And so, Dave and I, we have a lot in common. We agree on a lot of things, but there are certain, he's a lot more rooted in a lot of different kinds of history, a lot of different kind of historians, a lot of different people who are having political-minded conversations right now, and I'm not. I don't surround myself with that every single day. I have an awareness of what's happening. I have certain podcasts that I listen to each and every day. I keep up with some different news things that are happening in the U.S., but in general, I wouldn't say that that's a strong area of knowledge for me. And we got in this heated debate, and what I kept telling him is I was like, you are trying to, like, I am talking about, like, A and B, like, A might cause B, and you are saying, you are talking about A, and then you're going to, like, G or Z or wherever else. Like, you're so far down that I can't wrap my head around the logic of how you got from this point to this point. And all I want to do is talk about A and B. And he can't do that. And it just brought up this, I shouldn't say he can't do that. He probably could do that. But when it's the people that you love the most, you're not as patient. You don't show up the same way necessarily in a conversation with your loved one, your partner, your husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend, or even like your sister, or even like your best friend or your mom or your dad. You don't show up the same way in a conversation with those people as you would a friend you don't see very often, or a friend that you highly respect who has a lot of information about the subject. Or a stranger, right? Like, you're going to show up differently. You're going to be more impatient. You're also going to know or be familiar with sharing certain vulnerabilities inside of yourself, or being triggered in a certain way. So you're going to have a lot more raw emotions that you are able to express to that person. And so this happened for us, and it just turned into a day between Dave and I that kind of felt a little bit like a push and pull. It's like we'd get kind of heated and tense about something, and then we'd be like, oh, we don't need to be doing this. Let's come back together. And then things would kind of calm down. And then before you know it, like tensions would rise between us again, and we'd be bickering over certain things. And I have just been in a place with him where I'm just trying to be very patient because I know he's going through a lot. And so I'm trying not to feed into a lot of the things that if I did feed into it, it would just cause huge fights between us. Like, I'm just trying not to go there because I'm trying to say, I know that he needs patience from me right now. I know I need patience with us right now. And I know that it's not going to be worth my energy. It's just, it's a pointless road to go down. So, that's kind of how that night went. And, we had it was really snowy and cold out on Saturday, and we had, just kind of gone our separate ways. I ended up finishing watching Bridgerton on Saturday, which is probably not the best use of my time, but I just felt kind of sick, like not like with a cold or a virus or a flu or anything like that, but I just, this continued kind of just overwhelmed, tired, tension. And it's so funny because now as I kind of tell the story of what led up to me waking up with a stiff neck, I'm kind of like, oh, okay, there is a path to this injury. But yeah, Saturday night, I just felt kind of sick. And I was like, even though I know I need to get a lot of stuff done, I've been really trying to honor the fact that we are in a full moon cycle right now up until this late Tuesday into Wednesday when the new moon comes. And I'm trying to get myself to be like, everything happens in its own time. And I know this. I know this in my body. I know this in my experience. Every time I've had so much to do on my list and I try to do it when I shouldn't be doing it, it takes forever. I have to end up redoing it. It feels like I'm pulling teeth, like things just don't happen. And then other days you could have the longest to-do list ever and it's just like boom, boom, boom. Everything gets done super fast. One thing leads to another. It's 10:30 a.m. and you've gotten half of it done and it feels amazing. And so it is hard when you're worried about that and you want it to feel like that and you're not experiencing that. It is really hard to trust that will happen. And so that's kind of where I've been at. I tried to just let myself relax on Saturday. Very much enjoyed the Netflix show Bridgerton. Any of you out there who want to discuss, definitely let me know. Loved it. Also, Pride and Prejudice with Keira Knightley is one of my all-time favorite movies. It's taking kind of inspiration in that same time period. And I do have to say that watching Bridgerton had me thinking a lot about communication. Because their communication between everybody, between the parents and the children, the people who are courting each other, people who end up married to each other, all of the communication is so poor and so convoluted. And there's so many things that were not discussed. And I know that this is not like a 100% historically accurate display or like story, but I do think there are a lot of elements that are probably pretty right on. And it just made me think like, well, no wonder we have the communication issues that we have now, because look where we were just 200 years ago. I'd have to share that definitely was a thought that came up for me. But anyway, so woke up Sunday morning with all of this, and now I'm just trying my best to get by, I've been doing ice on my neck. I've been upping my vitamins. We have a Tim Tam, and I've been trying to move that across the area that just feels so stuck and frozen right now. Sleeping was not great. But even as I'm talking about this, and even as I feel a little bit desperate for answers and progress with this, I also know that these things take time. And I'm a lot less patient with neck and shoulder pain than I am with lower back pain because I guess I've had a lot more experience with back pain, but I do know from having a lot of back pain that it just takes time. It takes time. And as you guys know, I've talked about this before. I am a big believer in a correlation between what's happening metaphysically along with what's happening physically. And that is a belief that's not placing blame on the individual for causing what happened, because sometimes it's just something you can't control. But I do think that looking at some of those underlying metaphysical reasons and even some of the issues in each chakra surrounding that area can be very helpful with self-exploration, self-knowledge, self-awareness. And so, of course, I looked up, what does it mean when your neck is all stiff and you can't move it? And would it surprise you to hear that inflexibility came up? Being extremely stubborn, feelings of being extremely stubborn. And I don't think it said this, but there was something that made me think that it had to do with not wanting to surrender control. And immediately I thought, well, this is bullshit because I'm extremely flexible. I am the most flexible. I do nothing but give myself and bend and accommodate and compromise. And then, of course, I kind of had to pause and really think about what I was saying and take a look and be a little bit more honest with myself. And I know that I can have some elements of being inflexible. And it's hard. It's really hard for me to accept my inflexibility. I don't know if it's because I honestly do feel like I surrender a lot. I feel like I do compromise a lot. I feel like I'm constantly aware of other people's needs and their wants, and I try to accommodate all the time. I try to create the compromises before they even need to be created. And I know a lot of this is codependent behavior. And I think that's where it's kind of like sneaky inflexibility. It's like basically all of your patterns that you have felt either in your life, experiences in your life that have backfired on you, made you feel unsafe, didn't go well, or where you felt like you took a lot of blame, that something went wrong that was your fault. Whether it was or not, you just felt like it. It creates a pattern around watching for other people, what's going to make somebody mad, what's going to make something go wrong, and always trying to be one or two or three or four steps ahead of each problem, trying to fend it off and control it so that you stay safe. And you feel like you're controlling it for other people, but you are trying to control it. And there is a lot of sneaky inflexibility in there because you're just trying to keep yourself safe. You're trying to do what's best for everyone. And I know for me in my life, I feel like I have had to protect and create the best plans for everyone in my life. I feel like I've had to be that voice of sometimes strategy and logic and safety and deciding. And so all that to say, I'm trying to now take a look at where I can be a little bit more flexible and how I can be a little bit more flexible. And it's really, really hard. It's really hard, especially while I'm feeling even a little bit more uptight because of the pain that I'm feeling in my neck and shoulders and feeling so frozen. For example, I am very rigid. See, this is why this is such a great podcast, you guys. I don't know if it's a great podcast for you, but it's interesting for me to sit down and share a bit from within, because I start to realize, as I start to uncover things, I start to realize more and more of what's true. So as I just said, an area that I'm very rigid is with our bed being made. I literally feel like I cannot crawl into a bed that is not made and fall asleep. Like, I absolutely cannot do it. So even if for some reason the bed does not get made until 9 o'clock at night, then I make it then, and it has to be made before we go to bed. And I feel that way about things on the floor as well. I'm not a person that likes clothes on the floor. And I was just getting ready to say that I promise you that I'm not always nagging Dave about all of the clothes on the floor, because I feel like it pisses me off all of the time and I don't say anything. But I don't know if he would say that I nag him about stuff on the floor. I feel like there are other things that I nag him about. And I don't like to be a nagger. I don't want to do it, but I hate when clothes are I really do hate when clothes are on the floor. But because that's something that is such a pet peeve of mine, it's usually something that I just take care of myself. I kind of go around each morning and pick up all the clothes. There's this trend on TikTok right now where these one partner in the relationship will be like, I'm here today to show you how great of a decorator my spouse is. And look, here's where he left a huge pile of clothes on the floor in the closet. He just likes to give me an opportunity to jump over the clothes and exercise my skills and how quick I can be on my feet. And here is his jacket and 3 of his hats, just in case he needs to decide which hat he wants to wear as he's getting ready to leave. Oh, and here's this thing that he just brought home from the store. And here's, it's just like, it's hilarious because, one, it's just kind of how people describe it is funny, but 2, the part that I enjoy is just knowing that I am not alone. We all have different ways of existing in a space with our partners. And for me, the clothes on the floor is a big one. I generally just don't like things where they're not supposed to be. And so as I'm saying this, it's like this morning, yesterday and then Saturday too, while I've been trying to take it easy, yesterday, totally incapable. I actually had to reschedule this session that I was so looking forward to, because I literally cannot hold up a camera and then bend over to get the angles that I need right now. There's no way that I can do that. So you can just imagine how many clothes have been left on the floor while I've been other places inside the house. And so this morning when I woke up, I was just like, okay, I'm still dealing with this neck thing. I have so much I have to get done today. And I have to figure out a way to honor myself and rest and take care of and mend and heal. I also have to be able to get a few things done, some work done. And in order to do that, I cannot leave this bedroom with the bed unmade and clothes everywhere. And so I did ask for Dave's help, and he happily helped me, which was great. But it is really tough. It is tough because part of me was thinking, is this an area I need to be more flexible? Should it be okay for there to be clothes everywhere? And I'm just using that as an example. There's other things. And I know with saying all of that it's not that big of a deal. We all have those things that bother us that we could each say, yeah, I know on some level it is not that big of a deal, but to me it is. There's something inside of me that it just needs the structure. I want things to be clean. I want things to be organized. I need that like good energy, that good feng shui in order for my brain to work best so that I can show up and try to be the best version of myself. And now I don't think that being rigid or inflexible or controlling or a nag, I don't think that any of those things are the best part of my personality. I know that they're not. I know that there are things that I'm working through. And I am really, really working in my life to try to be the best version of myself, to try to own my own part. In fact, that's what we just did. On Saturday, I taught a yoga class for this week that was released on the Patreon that had to do with inner strength. And it was a practice of owning your physical inner strength, but also I've just been thinking so much about owning what's happening inside of me. In fact, on Saturday, when Dave and I were having this back and forth conversation, I felt really triggered. And I had to go back to him and I had to say to him, like, hey, I know that I reacted a little harshly because I'm triggered, and I know that you didn't mean to trigger me, and I'm not telling you to be different. I'm not telling you to phrase things different or to go easy on me or whatever. But I'm also trying to let you know why I got triggered and what's going on inside of me. And you can choose to do what you will with that, because if you can find it in you to know that that's what's happening for me and adjust slightly so that hopefully I can continue to work through my own issues, or just know what I was trying to tell him is like, know that I am trying to work through my own issues, and I can only go at whatever pace that I can go at. And that felt good to own that, to not try to put it back on him. Because I honestly know that it is not about him, that it is about me. And yet we are in this relationship kind of ping-ponging off of each other. So it matters. So you guys, that's a bit from within. So I'm not going to do kind of part 2 after the astro segment. What we're going to do next is I'm going to take a quick break, and then I'm going to share this week's astro segment. We're going to pull a card, and that's going to be it for today. See how flexible I'm being? I'm even changing up the structure of the podcast. I'm owning how flexible I am. Okay, you guys, so let's talk what is happening in the sky right now for this week's astro check-in. I actually just finished up and shared with all of my Patreon members the new moon in Capricorn guide. So I'm going to touch on it just a little bit here. But essentially, at midnight on Tuesday into Wednesday, there's going to be a new moon. And I feel like we've been waiting for this new moon for a long time, but in fact, it's just been about 15 days. I thought it was kind of strange that we're in this place where right now our full moons are right at the end of a month. So they kind of set up this period of rest and release for the first 2 weeks or so of each month. And then right here in the middle of the month, we're getting these new moons, which kind of set up a ton of traction, a ton of energy, a ton of inspiration, a ton of momentum for planting ideas, for action, for doing. And so if you kind of felt like that was a little bit of a weird way to start this year, well, you're definitely not alone, because I thought so as well. Right now, where the new moon is it's joined the sun in Capricorn. And it's interesting because where the moon is at, it's also conjunct Pluto. So there's a little bit of extra energy happening with this new moon. I will say that one thing that's kind of nice about this new moon being in Capricorn is that's really going to give us that push, this final push through the remainder of Capricorn to be on our A game, to get things done, to be very strategic. And the thing I've been thinking about with this is how important it is to work smarter and not harder. So where can you ask other people for help? Where can you delegate other tasks? What actually needs to be done first so that the things that come afterwards are easy? And how can you use this kind of smarter, not harder approach to all of the goals you want to set throughout this year? So how can you just break things down into little manageable pieces, baby steps to move yourself towards your long-term goals? And all of this Capricorn energy right now is really going to help you to do that. And so here we are, Capricorn energy coming Wednesday, new moon in Capricorn. The sun is about to move. It'll happen next week. So I'll share more about this next week. But the sun is moving into Aquarius, and essentially how you can start to think about this is a little bit like, okay, Capricorn is extremely hardworking. It's focused. It's going to get stuff done. It's going to have a plan. It's going to be all about the accomplishment. And then once we start to move into Aquarius, it starts to take ideas to the next level. So it's tons of inspiration. It's an air sign. So it's going to be ideas, intelligence, creativity, and a little bit of what can happen with that is that your ideas can become so grand. You can get so swept away with the idea of things that you lose that practical approach, which is why it's so nice to have a good plan when you're in Capricorn. That's why I bring that up, because Capricorn is earth. Earth signs, earth energy, earth elements are really good at being very practical about actually getting stuff done. So if you know you even might have a tendency to be a little bit more of that air, like prone towards air element, where you get a lot of ideas and then you can't put them into action, start now by creating that really good, well thought out plan that you can hold yourself accountable to as we move into Aquarius for the beginning of the month of February. Other things just to note right now, you guys, there are some interesting squares forming. So we've got 2 planets in Taurus right now. They're square to 2 planets that are in Aquarius right now. And squares are tough. They create a lot of tension. So if you believe in astrology, or if you are curious about astrology, you could know that a lot of what is happening in the United States right now, the stars kind of explain, and I don't know if explain is the right word. There's a correlation there between common strife and tension when those certain aspects are formed. So it's going to be just a little bit longer. We're going to have to really pull through next week. And I think the best thing that any of us can do for ourselves is take care of ourselves first. If there are people that you need to tune out, if there are boundaries that you need to set right now, if it is becoming too overwhelming to hear the news, if you find yourself kind of like I do sometimes at night, just scrolling through social media and getting inundated by all of this information, it's causing me to be a little restless at night. Let's make a resolution right now just to stop doing that, to be okay with putting down our phone, to switching to a new favorite album, to practicing meditation, to developing practices around the things that are actually going to serve us and hold us and support us in where we want to go and who we want to be, instead of getting sucked into the kind of drama of it all. Now, there is important, I do want to make it clear that if you are an activist, if you have something to say, if you need to educate, if you feel drawn towards that, by all means, you do you. But if you are overwhelmed by this and it is taking a toll on your heart and you are feeling very cloudy and depressed, and if you are breaking right now, that's when I'm here to tell you, you have full permission to take care of yourself. You have to. We all have to. We all need to take more accountability for taking care of ourselves. So, with that being said, that's where I'm going to leave that today. And I've got my Wild Offerings deck here, and we're going to pull a card. Just taking a couple deep breaths here. And you guys, how I do this, how I pull a card is that I just shuffle the deck until literally one flies up. So in case you were wondering, there's a few different ways of doing a card draw. You can always shuffle the cards and then spread them out and then pick one. But I learned this from a dear friend who has since passed away. Her name is Molly, and she taught me to do card drawing this way. So and the card that just came is compassion. As you pray each day for greater compassion, a new self is born, drawing new people and experiences. Dear Lord, help me feel ever-deepening self-acceptance. May I see myself as you see me. I love this, and I feel like it strikes even a little bit deeper than normal, just because compassion is a word that I have not thought of as I've kind of dealt with the bit from within that I've shared with you guys today. And I do think that, it really, really goes to support what I was just encouraging about taking care of yourself right now. Having compassion for yourself and for others. That is probably one of the greatest remedies for inflexibility, right? So if any of this resonates with you, I would love to hear it. I love being connected to you guys. I love knowing what your thoughts are, how any of this connects to a bit from within you. And thank you so much for tuning in this week. I should be making more and more progress on my website, so hopefully we'll be able to share all of that with you soon. And in the meantime, if you want to tune into any of the guides that have been coming out, if you're curious and you want to see what this new moon guide is all about, go ahead and join me on our Patreon page. You can get access to all of the guides, the new moon guide, full moon guide. I'm even launching, I'm going to drop it either tomorrow or Wednesday morning. It's an annual moon tracker. So it's just a kind of worksheet PDF that's 12 pages long plus some instructions that will help you track each month what's happening at the new moon, what's happening at the full moon, what are your intentions, what are you trying to let go of, and then just a bunch of blank space so that you can also write down what's happening. And I thought this is going to be the coolest thing we could do this year, because sometimes with astrology, there will be a point where you're like, what's happening right now corresponds to what happened in, I'm just going to pick a random date, like May of 2018 or of earlier of this lunar eclipse in 2020 or 2021. And so I thought if we can start having this little thing to look back on, we can start to develop a much more tangible and practical experiential way of tracking the moon and the stars in a very realistic way. So if you're curious about any of that, you want to join along, go ahead and join the Patreon. And for all of those of you who are already on the Patreon, expect that. I'm super excited to see if you guys love it. And yeah, that's where we're at. Enjoy the rest of your day, your rest of your week. Take care of yourself. And I hope to be feeling much better by the time I talk to you next week.